its first 3 years of operation since being built and constructed and opened for the 1988 racing season, Louisville Motor Speedway has established a standard of excellence that has brought it acclaim all across the nation. And here in 1991, everyone at Louisville Motor Speedway is excited to be a part of the quality broadcasting lineup on Channel 15. Good evening, everyone. I'm Scott Douglas, welcoming you to what is going to be our jaunt every Wednesday night throughout the stock car racing season and to all the highlights and all the excitement of Louisville Motor Speedway racing. We're getting it underway with our first show of the season, looking back at 2 exciting weekends of competition. And each Wednesday night on this show, we'll show you the great racing action that you can find every Friday and Saturday night at Louisville Motor Speedway. We'll also let you meet many top contenders and some of the unique personalities that go racing each and every week at LMS. Now, we'll be looking at 6 divisions in action each and every week, and you'll see highlights from them right here on Channel 15. Every Friday night at Louisville Motor Speedway, the Auto Works Figure 8 Division, the Winston Martin Landscaping Sportsman Division, and the Ken Towery General Tire Rookie Bombers take to the track. Then each and every Saturday night, it's the NASCAR-sanctioned Winston Bush Late Model Division, the Ken Towery Auto Care Center General Tire Mini Stocks, along with the Dial 1 Bombers. You're going to see highlights from all of them from their first 2 weekends of competition tonight, right here on Channel 15. And the man who's going to take us through those highlights is the voice of Louisville Motor Speedway, Frank Scott.
Well, thank you very much, Scott Douglas, and Frank Scott coming to you from the top of the roof of the press box here to a very, very windy Louisville Motor Speedway. And welcome to the 1991 racing season here at the Louisville Motor Speedway, our 4th big year of action at the Louisville. Take on epic proportions in 1991 here at the Speedway for a total purse value over the entire summer of nearly $500,000 in weekly prize money as well as postseason awards. And the cars are truly a spectacle to see if you get a chance to come out here at Louisville Motor Speedway and see any of our great 6 of the great racing divisions here at the track. Well, the action got started April 5th and 6th at Louisville Motor Speedway on opening weekend, and nearly 10,000 race fans attended the Speedway to see the opening night festivities. Let's take a look at some of the racing action through the magic of videotape here at the Louisville Motor Speedway. Taking a look now at the feature event for the Winston Martin Landscaping Sportsman Division on opening night, April 5th at Louisville Motor Speedway. This division has seen an influx of new talent, and by that I mean 13 new rookies moving up into this division. Out of turn number 4, completing lap number 1, Reed Boone, along with the number 44 of Joe Lewis, leading the field into turns 1 and 2. Charlie Pierce runs at 3rd, and Scott Toohey in the number 38, the Rookie of the Year in this division 1 year ago, moving up along the inside of Fred Kalin to nail down the 4th place position as they complete lap number 3. A little later in the contest, the number 38 of Scott Toohey pulls up and gets around Chuck Winders in the number 8, moving into turns 1 and 2, and then slithers past the inside of the number 7 of Charlie Pierce and takes the lead. Fortunately for Scott, his sponsors, Churchill Downs, was enjoying a night in the VIP suite that evening on opening night at Louisville Motor Speedway. Toohey, the leader across the start-finish line, with Charlie Pierce running at 2nd, and Chuck Winders, the 1989 late model champion, currently running at 3rd. That evening's fastest qualifier, Chuck Barnes, moved up and got around Chuck Winders, but collected Reed Boone on the front straightaway after Boone collided with the number 79 of Gary Morris. Unfortunately for Chuck Barnes, his night ended in the infield. The race was restarted until with only 2 laps to go in the contest. The leader, Scott Toohey, with a surmountable lead moving into turns 3 and 4, and then it happens behind him. The number 33 of Gary Ott turns it sideways. Joe Lewis collides with him, and then you see Pastor Ron Lasley, a rookie in this division, and the number 10, the front end of his Chevy Camaro, all torn up. The green flag came out with only 2 laps left in the contest, and the number 38 of Scott Toohey down the back straightaway and into turns 3 and 4. He was the 1990 Rookie of the Year in this division. This year, a top contender for the title, and he comes away with his first feature win of the 1991 racing season. Scott Toohey, sponsored by Churchill Downs, as well as Auburndale Auto Parts and Machine and Bud Toohey's Auto Body Repair. Coming to victory, Chuck Winders across the line at 2nd. And once again, the win seemed very appropriate for Scott Toohey, as his sponsors from Churchill Downs, the people that sponsor his fine race car, were enjoying a night in the VIP suite at Louisville Motor Speedway. Taking Taking a look now at the first time for the AutoWorks Figure 8 division at Louisville Motor Speedway in 1991. Two feature events on opening night, April 5th at the Speedway. On the final lap of the contest, Fairdale, Kentucky's Buck Skaggs leads the field out of turn number 4 and comes to the checkered flag for Colonial Gardens, as well as A1 Used Auto Parts and Skaggs Wrecker Service. Across the line at second, it was Bobby Johnson, and finishing up at third, it was Raymond Johnson. In the second feature event, it's Buddy Vertrees in the number 41 who puts this move on Richard Boyd, but it's Tony Conway who comes to victory in the Craig & Moore Used Cars Racing Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Also on opening night, April 5th, for the Kentari General Tire Rookie Bomber Division, Tom Aubrey brings his Bachman Chevrolet-sponsored Impala to victory lane in the first feature event. Then Skip Bennett collects the victory for Shady Park Key Market. Taking a look at racing action from the Winston Busch late models on April 6th, opening night for our late model division. And on the final lap of the contest, it's the number 77 of Keith Storms out of Louisville, Kentucky, driving a 1991 Buick Regal sponsored by KC Food Marts and Kitty Combs Enterprises to victory over a tough-charging Chuck Winders. Marty Belcher finishes up third in that event. In the first of two feature events for the Kentari General Tire Mini Stock Division on opening night, April 6th for that class, it's the number 95, Jim Kirk, in a German-made Porsche coming to victory. His car sponsored by JNR Outboard Service Company, as well as aluminum components over a tough-charging Rick Harris in his number 4 Pinto. Then in the second feature event for the mini stock division, it's the number 55 of Dale Thomas who takes his Datsun around the outside of the number 85 of Bob Brem's Volkswagen Rabbit. As they move into turns 3 and 4, coming up on the white flag with less than 1 lap to go, Thomas is able to get around Bob Brem going into turns 1 and 2, and then he holds on to come away with the victory on opening night. At one point in this battle, over 5 makes of cars were battling for the lead all right together. But the 55 of Dale Thomas comes to victory in a very exciting finish in this division. In the first of two Dial 1 Oval Bomber Division feature events on opening night, April the 6th, car number 38, driven by Doug Hutcherson, comes to victory in the Jeans Auto Center Bud Dewey Auto Body Repair Racing Chevrolet. Chuck Wolf finishes up at second, and Fred Greenwell scores a third-place finish. Taking a look now at the racing action in the second feature event for the Dial 1 Oval Bomber Division, and Gary Druck comes to victory over Robbie Vitito and Alan Williams Jr. Well, that's a look at some of the feature event action on opening weekend at Louisville Motor Speedway, and we have some heat racing results coming up right now. Some of the scenes and highlights from the opening weekend here at Louisville Motor Speedway. But for right now, just over my shoulder, Scott Douglas is standing down in the pit area with one of the top contenders in 1991. Of course, he was the 1990 late model champion here at Louisville Motor Speedway, Jeffersonville, Indiana's own Frank Kimmel. Scott, take it away.
Well, thank you, Frank, and we are in the pits. We'll be here every week meeting some of the top contenders and competitors at Louisville Motor Speedway. And here on our debut on Channel 15, we got to start with the reigning champion of the fastest and top division at Louisville Motor Speedway, the NASCAR Winston Busch late models. And our reigning champion is Frank Kimmel out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. And Frank, as the new season comes upon us, you're coming off just a stellar year. But how do you and the Shirley Racing team look forward to 1991?
Well, we stayed with the same Tomcat chassis this year, Scott, and it seems to be working really well. We got a little bit of a slow start last week and didn't do as well as we like, but hopefully we'll bounce back and get some more consistent finishes and shoot for that championship again.
Now, one of the things that is interesting is that last year you ran 2 separate cars like Chuck Winders is doing this year and ran for the regional title. But this year, after almost winning it, coming in second, you decided to kind of narrow that goal down.
Yeah, we really did. The late model takes so much time to really keep it performing good, and it puts such a strain on the guys to work them that hard. They did a super job last year, and with maybe running a few ARCA shows this year, we thought it'd be better just to run one show here.
Now, you mentioned running some ARCA shows. I guess that's the immediate plan in terms of expanding Frank Kimmel's career.
Yeah, it is. We've got Jack Wallace's ARCA car. It's a real nice car. It should be fairly competitive. And if we can go and run some good experienced laps is what we need, and that's what we're going to try to do.
Frank, this is the 4th year for the Winston Bush late models at Louisville Motor Speedway, and, you know, just as an observer, I've never seen them look any better. What about on the track? Is the equipment better than it's ever been?
Oh, boy, it really is. These cars have... last year there was probably 5 or 6 that you had to contend with to win every night, and it seems like this year there may be 15 or 20. We hope it slows down a little bit so we can get up to the top bunch again this year, and maybe we will, but right now it's a very tough competition, and we're going to have to fight hard.
It looks like that there's also going to be quite an influx of new talent when you look at guys like the quality of a Rick Irwin coming in and a Sam Price. These are seasoned racers, even though they're new at the Louisville late model game.
Yeah, both Sam and Rick have some late model experience, and Steve Brown coming over from the Sportstrome, and all those guys are very tough, and it's going to make it rough. And it's just good fun racing. We hope to stay in there and make them beat us again this year.
Now, there's so many families involved with racing, and I guess the Kimmel family may be the best known in the area. But just for a little background in history, your dad, of course, one of the better known names. So your experience in racing, I guess, starts as a little guy watching Daddy.
Yeah, I've been around it. I think Mom said I went to the first race in 2 weeks, and I've probably been to a race every weekend on every summer night, and it's been tremendous help to me. You can't imagine having Dad sitting there watching, and he gives you some advice as you come in, and still today he does that, and it helps everything, because racing just goes back to the same thing 20 years ago. It's just that we use better equipment now.
Frank, when you're out there on the racetrack, so many times it's rough out there. There's some beating and some banging going on, and sometimes you're doing that beating and banging with your brother, Bill Jr.
Yeah, Bill's out there, and this year he's running a lot better, and he's hoping to have a better year, and I'm sure he will. He's got a new car. The team really worked hard, got a good engine in it this year, and he's going to be one of the guys to beat just like everybody else.
Deservedly, when you were getting all the trophies and all the awards last year, so was Terry Shirley, your car owner, and obviously he's back in a big part of the deal.
Terry does it all. He himself and the crew do a super job. Sean, Alex, Rudd, Budzo, Bradley, they work hard every single night on the car, and that's what really makes it a good, successful team.
Frank Kimmel hoping to make it 2 straight Winston Bush late model championships at Louisville Motor Speedway. Now with more highlights, back to Frank Scott.
So some words of wisdom from the 1990 late model champion Frank Kimmel of Jeffersonville, Indiana, back to defend his title again in 1991 here at the Speedway. Unfortunately, our second week of racing activities got rained out at the Speedway, so let's move up a couple of weeks to the weekend of the 19th and 20th. That's April 19th and 20th for 6 great racing divisions, and now let's go to the videotapes and take a look at some of that racing weekend action. Feature event action now for the NASCAR-sanctioned Winston Martin Landscaping Sportsman Division opening laps of the contest as they move down the back straightaway. Inside pole position starter, the number 99 of George Koch leads the field out of turn number 4. Up around the outside, though, from Crestwood, Kentucky, comes Joe Lewis. And from Germantown, Kentucky, the number 47 of Tom Seidler. Moving down the back straightaway now and into turns 3 and 4, you see the number 7 of Charlie Pierce and the number 09, the red-hot Camaro of Wade Johnson. Suddenly, Tom Seidler spins on the front straightaway, but pulls harmlessly down to the infield as the green flag remains out. The Winston Martin Landscaping Sportsman Division has grown this year to include 13 rookies in this division, and what that spells is a lot of traffic each and every Friday night at Louisville Motor Speedway. Here we see the number 38 of Scott Toohey moving past the inside of Marshall Jaggers. Chuck Winders in the number 5, Chuck Barnes in the number 5 in the thick of things. Chuck Winders would have been in the lineup, but he broke a transmission during practice. Later in the contest, the number 09 of Wade Johnson pulls up and takes over the number 2 spot. He'll bring the number 38 of Scott Toohey along with him, and together they chase down the number 99 of George Koch, and then out of turn number 2 and down the back straightaway, Wade Johnson makes his move on the lead. And moving into turns 3 and 4, takes over the number 1 spot. The number 38 of Scott Toohey pulls up along the inside of George Koch and nails down the number 2 spot, relegating Koch back to the number 3 position. After a late race caution flag, period, the race was stopped, then restarted, and we find Wade Johnson and Scott Toohey battling side by side, moving down the front straightaway and vying for the number 1 spot. Moving into turns 1 and 2, push becomes a shove, and then a bounce, and then a bump, and then an all-out war breaks out between the two Procrafter-built automobiles. They slam into each other, moving into turns 3 and 4, canceling each other from the lineup. Along the inside comes the number 99 of George Koch, and he takes the caution flag only 2 laps from the finish of the event as the leader. Following the restart of the event with only 2 laps remaining, the white flag was shown to the number 99 of George Koch, the 2-time mini-stock division champion at Louisville Motor Speedway, moving up into the Winston Martin Landscaping Sportsman division. Koch, out of turn number 4, takes his first feature win in the Sportsman division. His car sponsored by Thornton's Gas and Food Marts, as well as Collins Chevrolet, located on Broadway, and Banquet Table Buffet. Across the line at second, it was Fred Kalin. Donnie Sullivan finishes up at third. Joe Williamson Jr. at fourth, and Marshall Jaggers rounds out the top 5. Taking a look now at racing action from the A feature for the AutoWorks Figure 8 division. And there's a good look at the defending champion of the Figure 8 division, 2-time track champion Danny Blackwell. But at the intersection, Jeff Roberts, the leader of the event, was forced to stop for traffic, handing the lead to the second place running car, the number X85 of Calvin Crane, a second-generation driver. Moving down through the intersection, though, Jim Berry spins his machine around, and Blackwell and Roberts have to split the difference for second place. Then Jack Mann collides with Jim Berry at the intersection, and the whole melee brings out the caution flag. Once the race was restarted, though, Calvin Crane seemed to overwhelm even 2-time Figure 8 champion Danny Blackwell. The driver of the R&R Auto Tent, B&R Speed Shop racing Chevy Impala, comes to victory lane. Calvin Crane in that beautifully prepared number X85. Across the line at second, it was Danny Blackwell, and finishing up at third, Roger Vincent. In the second feature event for the AutoWorks Figure 8 division, it's the cars that are not quite in the top 24 in the point standings. Every bit as exciting, though, and the number 41 of Buddy Vertrees overwhelms everyone in his Napa Auto Parts sponsored ride. The car is sponsored by Motor Parts Center, located on Fern Valley Road, as well as Vertrees Sign Company, B&R Speed Shop, and West 44 Auto Parts. Across the line at second, it's Tony Anderson of Parkway Village, Kentucky, and Edgewood, Kentucky's Timmy Blackwell finishes up at third. Rookie bomber action now, and moving down the back straightaway, the number 10 of Jesse Key is the leader on the final lap of the contest. Here comes the number 200 of Mark Mattingly up around the outside, and the number 200, sponsored by Tune Up 2000, collects the victory. Jesse Key across the line at second, and finishing up at third, Bobby Davis Jr. In our second Ken Tyree General Tire Rookie Bomber feature event, the number 290 of Raymond Bush comes to victory lane for Morris Bush Sod Company. Across the line at second, it's Del Slayton in the number 383, and James Hagan finishes up at third. Feature event action now from the Jenny Quip Mini Qualifier, a 40-lap feature event. Opening laps, and the number 15 of Doug Rogers shows the way. Jim Kirk set a new track record. We'll get to him in a moment. But then action up in between turns 3 and 4, and the number X of Dave Moran, George Koch, and Jimmy Lawrence collide up in the third and fourth turn, bringing out the first caution flag period of the event. Then a little later on in the contest, the new track record holder, Jim Kirk, set a 16.928 second clocking in qualifications, but he collides with Bob Brim and Gary Martin going into turns 3 and 4, dropping him way back in the lineup. Just over the halfway point now of the Jenny Quip Mini Qualifier 40-lap feature event, and the number 4 of Rick Harris comes from way back in the pack to run down first and second place. The number 89 of Mike Jones, he passes him on the inside and then sets his sights on the leader, Doug Rogers, in the number 15. After about 10 laps of racing with Doug Rogers side by side and nose to tail, he finally makes the pass, and Rick Harris takes over the number 1 spot for Chardine Mechanical as well as Delta Electric Company. In the late stages of the contest, Gary Martin, driving car number 44 in his Jenny Quip sponsored Mustang, gets around Eric Williams and takes over the number 3 spot. But the leader of the event, the number 4 of Rick Harris, once again his sponsors are Chardine Mechanical and Delta Electric Company, comes away with the first major event of the 1991 racing season at Louisville Motor Speedway, the Jenny Quip Mini Qualifier, the 40-lap feature. Across the line at second, Doug Rogers, and then the number 44 of Gary Martin finishes up at third. And those three drivers are guaranteed starting spots in the Mini 50 coming up in June at Louisville Motor Speedway. Going to racing action from our premier division, the Winston Bush late models. And in the early going, Clarksville, Indiana's Bill Kimmel Jr. in his John Jones GM City Kimmel race car sponsored Chevrolet Lumina is the early pace setter. The number 2, the budget rent-a-car and truck Chevy Lumina of Steve Webb, the 1989 Rookie of the Year in this division, runs at second. The number 02 of Sammy Price currently going at third. At fourth, it's the number 68 of Steve Brown and the number 33 of Ronnie Page. Early portions of the contest here, and we see the number 3 of Marty Belcher also approaching the top 5. Bill Kimmel Jr. builds up an unbelievable lead, nearly a half a lap advantage over the rest of the field. Unfortunately, the raindrops become very apparent on our windshield as well as on the windshield of the race drivers on the racetrack, and the race was called after 21 laps of racing action, making the event official, making the entire night an official night of racing competition. Bill Kimmel Jr. was awarded the victory, again sponsored by John Jones GM City, as well as Kimmel Race Cars in a 1991 Chevrolet Lumina. Let's take a look at some of the racing highlights from the heat races held over the entire weekend. Performance of the week at the Speedway. Since already 2 weeks of racing action has passed, let's go to Scott Douglas for the Fisher's Meatpacking Company Top Dog of the Week Award.
Now for the naming, as we have every week here on Channel 15, of the Fisher's Top Dog of the Week Award winner for best performance at Louisville Motor Speedway. We give the award each week. Of course, here on our first show, we have 2 weekends to cover. The first Fisher's Top Dog of the Year, Dale Thomas, who was able to come out of that great mini-stock shootout the first week with the victory. And our second Fisher's Top Dog of the Week, of course, Rick Harris, who grabbed the first special event of the year, the championship of the Gen-Equip Mini Qualifier. Dale Thomas and Rick Harris, Fisher Top Dogs of the Week.
Well, let's take a look at some of the greatest hits of the week at Louisville Motor Speedway. And the first one for 1991 comes in the figure 8 division as the number 34 of Kenny Lapp gets collected at the intersection by race leader Buck Skaggs. Next up on opening night at Louisville Motor Speedway, Harold Murphy and Charlie Hall get introduced at the intersection, and both cars are knocked out of competition. Another one of the greatest hits at Louisville Motor Speedway comes to us on our second night of racing action at the Louisville Motor Speedway, and the number 7 of Donnie Crane shows us how to take a shortcut through the figure 8 course. But the only problem is he takes one the hard way and sliding across a very wet, grassy area and spins the automobile around, doing some minor damage to the machine. One of the finer-looking automobiles in the AutoWorks Figure 8 division is that of Lester Sattel's. But look out at the intersection, and the Days of Thunder look-alike mobile gets turned around with one less axle. Our next greatest hit comes from the Rookie Bomber division at Louisville Motor Speedway. And look out, going into turn number 1, one car hits the wall, and then a second one collides with him. Fortunately, no one injured in this altercation in the third and fourth turn. And our final greatest hit of the week comes from the Winston Bush late models going into turns 3 and 4. Chuck Winders and Frank Kimmel make early contact and then sets up a very expensive accident. Junior Blankenship, the number 90 of Rick Irwin, the number 74 of Brian Baum, also Carl Wheeler and the number 34 are also involved in Preston Ford and the number 20 along with Joe Williamson Sr.
Frank's got some great racing action already, as you've shown in the highlights from the first 2 weekends at Louisville Motor Speedway. This coming weekend is going to prove to be one of the most exciting. It's really kind of, for us at Louisville Motor Speedway, like most people around here, a couple of weeks of celebration in terms of the Derby. Well, with the Derby Festival, we've got a special Derby Festival event, a lot of great racing normally, and then a big shootout on Derby Eve. But it all gets going this Friday night and Saturday night when we see our regular divisions in action.
That's right, Scott. On Friday night, you can see the Auto Works Figure 8 division along with the Ken Tire Auto Care Center General Tire Rookie Bombers, and of course our always exciting Winston NASCAR sanctioned Martin Landscaping Sportsman Division drivers going into action. And I tell you what, Friday nights the action is right on the front part of the grill, you might say.
Then of course Saturday night again it'll be the same three divisions in action, and already the points battles are heating up there as well.
Well, they sure are, Scott. You know, and qualifying is very important. Of course, we only qualify two divisions here, one on Friday night, one on Saturday night. But qualifying, if you're the fastest qualifier, you achieve just as many points as if you did when you won the feature event. So qualifying is very important. A lot of ties in the point standings in the early going here at the Louisville Motor Speedway in 1991. Those ties will be broken over the next few weeks. But I tell you what, I've never seen just a variety of great talent already up in the point standings, up at the head of the class in the point standings so soon in a racing season.
Now, coming up Saturday night, the Speedway's got a special situation in terms of Operation Desert Storm. The Speedway owners, Kenny Stilger and Andy Vertrees, wanted to honor the troops and the families involved in Operation Desert Storm. So what they're going to do on Saturday night at Louisville Motor Speedway, those people, the families or the troops, anybody with a valid military ID or dependent ID gets in free, and there'll be a lot of special things to honor all the great success and all the great commitment of the troops that were involved in Desert Storm.
It's something that we're very excited to be involved with, and honoring the troops and the armed forces that did their jobs over in the Middle East, and it's our way of showing some gratitude towards that group of people.
Before we wrap it up here on Sunday, this coming Sunday, it's the Community Ministries Kids Day at the races. Kids could come out to Louisville Speedway. There's just a $1 donation to the Community Ministries. They're going to have the SIRA go-karts will be racing on the track, but also kids can get involved in slow bike races. There'll be big wheel races, bake sales, and basketball shoots and games and prizes. A lot of fun, and I think a lot of the kids are really going to come out and have a good time.
Well, it's going to kind of be like a day at the county fair. It's a day at Louisville Motor Speedway for the kids, though, and it's really going to be great.
Then one more to talk about coming up, and that is, before we come back on the air with you, and that is next Monday night. It's going to be the Dairy Mart presentation of the Kentucky Derby Festival Renegades Midget Challenge. For the first time in 2 years, the open-wheel Renegades midgets who you see all over the country, the All-American midgets, will be coming into town, and they get a lot of national coverage. Well, they're going to be right here racing those open-wheel midgets along with the Louisville Speedway Bombers and Mini-Stocks.
Back after an absence of 2 years here at Louisville Motor Speedway, you'll see the open-wheeled racing variety go into action. The four-cylinder cars really get around this Louisville Motor Speedway, and you may see some future Indianapolis 500 drivers in the field.
And again, that's coming up on a special Monday night race as part of the Derby Festival. And then what we're really excited about is we're going to see you back here next Wednesday night at 11:30 as we come to you each week right here on our new home for the Louisville Motor Speedway Let's Go Racing Show, Channel 15. Till next Wednesday night, I'm Scott Douglas.
And I'm Frank Scott. Tune in each and every Wednesday evening right here on WKPC Channel 15 for all the highlights and results from Louisville Motor Speedway, the fastest half hour in Kentuckiana.